Let's talk some Torah. We're in Parshat Vayikra. It's the very beginning of the third book of the Torah. It's the heart of Torah, as it were. And it has been suggested by many, especially critics of the Torah, that the book of Leviticus is so dense. In fact, Leviticus tells you what it's about: the tribe of Levi and the priests, the intricacies of sacrifices. It feels so burdened by its own detail, and in fact, the gore and the intricacy of the rituals also feels a little bit foreign. So critics have often said Leviticus is a book of law, and they say so with a pejorative, with a denigrating tone. In fact, I remember sitting with a teacher of mine, a beloved teacher and an incredible recognized scholar of Torah, Rabbi Dr. Jacob Milgram of blessed memory. He was known as a scholar of the book of Leviticus and of everything, really. He made Aliyah with his wife, Jo, years and years ago, after serving at University of California, Berkeley, in the religion department, and before that, serving as a pulpit rabbi in Richmond, Virginia, where he was followed a few times after by my father, who was also the rabbi at Temple Bethel in Richmond, Virginia. And Dr. Milgram, Rabbi Milgram, or Jacob, as he would have friends call him, was convinced that we had a lesson that we needed to teach in the name of our people and in the name of Torah, which is the book of Leviticus is not a book of law, he said. It is a book of love. The nexus point where sacrifices were made were on behalf of the world, and it brought people together. When I had something to celebrate, I brought a sacrifice. When I had something to make up for, to do penance for, I did a sacrifice. And in fact, with Professor Milgram's understanding, it wasn't actually about me at all. Because by the time I was permitted by the laws of purity to bring a sacrifice, I had already atoned. The altar upon which a sacrifice was offered was a communal place. And in fact, the purity and atonement that was required was not for me anymore, because I had already done that work. The sacrifices were offered to purify the altar itself and the community so that we would be worthy of maintaining a connection with God. Said in English, and contextualizing this in the work of UJA and my direct experiences the last few days, it means that what we do as a community is actually not about only our community. It has to be on behalf of the world we share. By the time we are prepared to do the work, we've already done so much of the internal fixing that is required. The real question is, what does the world need, and how can I be present in and for it? Because we are of it too. The last few days, until late last night, I was part of what we call the Westchester Faith Clergy Mission. We have UJA, through our partner agency, our beloved friends at the Westchester Jewish Council, gathered together faith leaders from Westchester, Muslim, Jewish, and Christian. Last May, we all went to Israel, and this past week, we went to Montgomery, Alabama, Selma, Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, and Atlanta, Georgia. It was a very intense and quick trip. We led it with our guide and teacher and friend, Billy Planer, who, if you have traveled on a civil rights mission with him, you know why we chose him. It was an extraordinary opportunity to sit with brothers and sisters of faiths, knowing that what bound us together is a unifying faith, a trust in each other, a willingness to be vulnerable together, and to go to places where human beings dehumanized other human beings, and where a people who had been enslaved have risen up and shown what freedom looks like. To stand at the Equal Justice Initiative created by the incredible Brian Stevenson, to go to the park in Birmingham, where Bull Connors led the police to batter freedom protesters, images of God, whose skin color shouldn't have mattered. And we stood in that park with Bishop Calvin Woods, who's turning 90 in just a little while. And he sang with us and prayed with us and told his story of the 16th Street Church, where 4 black girls were killed by a hateful person with a bomb. We stood there together and we prayed, and he was glorious. And he blessed us, and we all put hands on each other's shoulders. And yes, the lived experience that each of us brought was unique. And yes, to stand on that ground now, the nicely trimmed lawn and the paved sidewalks, powerful, and if you pay attention to what your feet are feeling, it goes way beneath the surface of the ground. We walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, silently, trying to allow our feet to absorb testimony, trying to hear voices that were calling out for freedom, voices that were hurt by those who would fight against human dignity. And when we crossed, there's a very important memorial to those who organized the march, to those who led the march, including the amazing John Lewis. And there's a slab of stone with a quote from the book of Joshua. For when Joshua led the Israelites across the Jordan, just like Moses wanted to, the stone says, when your children ask you, tell them the journey of freedom. So friends, you and I, part of the amazing work of UJA in the world, certainly connected to each other, connected to our sisters and our brothers, including 2 faith leaders who I was so privileged to bring into our learning community, Reverend Dr. Kelly Rogers and Imam Shafiq Chase. We have so much to learn. And we've got good, kind people to do it with. Because if I think, that the intricacies of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus, are dense, try putting us in the same room with multiple traditions, and let's talk about what ritual looks like. Let's talk about what our lives, infused by religious meaning, lead us to do. You think Leviticus is complicated. Well, I hear Dr. Milgram in my ears. It's not actually a book of law. And if we sit in this room, please God, we will soon, to share our faith perspectives, compare them, learn from each other, we will ultimately see what my sisters and brothers immediately saw as we traveled together. Just as the first cohort of the Westchester Faith Initiative saw last year, traveling through Israel together, we saw that it's actually a book of love. So I want to bless us to be what Bishop Woods called us to be. He talked about driving Dr. King places. He talked about his own journey as a young man. And he said he witnessed the leaders of the civil rights movement. He called them apostles of love. So in the name of my teacher, Bishop Calvin Woods, and in honor of my dear friends, some of whom are celebrating the beginning of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan tonight, I just wish us love. Sometimes to get to love, we have to go through our intricate processes. So let's do that. Let's keep learning. Let's keep growing. Because after all, what's better than love? Let's have a good day, friends. Let's learn well. See you tomorrow, friends.